From the very beginning, Peacemaker has been a story about a man trying to move past his pain, and in this finale, he finally does. But the cost? That's what's going to change everything in the DCU going forward. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, my name is Trey. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to review the Season 2 finale of Peacemaker that just dropped on HBO Max tonight. And I gotta be honest, this finale did surprise me in a lot of ways. I think it probably surprised a lot of fans, as I think maybe we had a little bit of a WandaVision situation on our hands, or maybe we expected a little too much. But for what we got, I honestly really appreciate it because I thought it was a really good closure of this season and Chris's story thus far. Watching him face his inner struggles head on with the help of his friends, the 11th Street Kids, was really well done. It was really good. The writing in those scenes was really incredible, especially the one where the group confronts Chris at the motel, led by Adebayo, Danielle Brooks, who was just absolutely sensational in this episode tonight. Get her in the Emmy conversation as well, because she absolutely delivered. She broke me, especially when she's hyping up Chris and encouraging him and telling him what he means to her personally and what he means to the group. It was so well done. But seeing Chris overcome a lot of those struggles, be honest with his friends finally, and have them encourage him, build him up, and get him to where he needs to be was so good. And again, I think the closure this season needed in wrapping up that storyline and what we've seen really over the last couple seasons. And we also see Hardcore admit her feelings for Chris finally as well, saying, hey, what happened on the boat meant something. In the after show podcast last week, James Gunn and Jennifer Holland were talking about how we were going to get to this scene on the boat and what really happened. And I think what actually happened was different than what a lot of us expect. I think we expected a different sequence of events happening between the two of them, but this was, I think, so much more intimate, as there was so much realism in that boat scene of them dancing on the boat, having that first kiss, and it just felt really real. And you can see why it was bugging Chris. It's like, hey, did that mean something to you? Did that mean something to you? And have her finally admit that was really good. And a really good tie-in at the end of this episode, having Foxy Shazam, the band that plays the lead intro song, cameo and play that song too, and have them have this full circle moment was really cool. And having Chris kind of have that big smile on his face, knowing that he's got what he's wanted, was really, really cool. And then James Gunn does what he does best and rips our hearts out with the ending of this episode, separating them maybe permanently, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But while this wasn't the big cameo fest that I think a lot of us thought it was going to be, it really did accomplish what James said in setting up the future of the DCU and where we are going. We definitely have a clear direction, and I think we have the main antagonist thus far over what we might see over the next few installments as who I thought a few episodes ago, Rick Flag Sr. We see him driven by this mission to access the QUC. We don't know what for, and we finally get that reveal tonight that he was wanting this technology to enter the space to find a world to send metahumans to, called Salvation, a planet like Earth that they could be there separated from each other completely and don't pose any threat to Earth, which was something that Lex Luthor wanted to do, and pretty scary that we see Rick really fully align with that vision, especially because a lot of his vengeance seems to be driven by Chris Smith personally. And so he's driven by that. He's literally sacrificing people trying to find this space, and you can see the rest of the crew kind of realize that, hey, maybe this guy isn't so good, like Bordeaux and Fleury, as they're seeing people they work alongside die over and over again. And so I think he might be that main antagonist going forward in the next few installments, as we see him at the end of this episode kidnap Chris and throw him into that dimension purely out of revenge. And so he's a really intriguing person to step into that role, because I think in a lot of ways that we've wanted to root for that character, especially coming out of Creature Commandos and having a brief spot in Superman. And to see him have this heel turn is really interesting, because what he wants to do does directly impact the DCU, as metahumans exist. They are everywhere. Superman's out there, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, they're all out there right now. And so what does that mean for them? Is they only want to throw metahumans in there who are dangerous, who are maybe bad guys, or is he wanting to put everybody in there? And so that you can see how that is laying the groundwork and laying the pieces of where we may go next in the DCU, and specifically in Man of Tomorrow, as we'll see Lex Luthor and Superman kind of team up in some ways for a bigger threat. Now, is that going to be Rick Flag Sr.? Probably not, but I think his motives here and what he's doing could unleash something that is going to be a bigger threat that requires them to team up. But again, the ending of this episode, what people are going to be talking about, kind of the main theme of this season, the ending of the episode, as Chris is thrown into this dimension, the portal is closed, and we don't know what's going to happen next. Like, the fallout from that is very, very interesting of what can happen. What happens with the 11th Street Kids, or Checkmate as they're now called, as they have all formed this company to stand up and better the world. What's going to happen when they find out what happened to Chris? How are they going to respond? What are they going to do next? Do we see that remedy or the resolve of this situation in some sort of future project, whether that's Lanterns or Man of Tomorrow, Supergirl, or whatever is coming up next? You know, it's going to be interesting to see where Peacemaker pops up next. I think that's the big question. Do we get a season 3 as well? Again, is it addressed in a future movie or show? And so the possibilities are endless, but I'm really excited to see what that means for Chris Smith going forward, what happens to him, where we go from here. I like the unknown. I really like the unknown of what comes next. And maybe we'll get a season 3 announcement here in coming days, because I think that the reception to season 2 has been so overwhelmingly positive, even more so than season 1. And I think the viewership is there to, you know, incentivize a season 3. And so I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that in the coming days and weeks, as to maybe we get some sort of tease of to where we may see Peacemaker next. Overall, I think this finale was strong. Again, different than what a lot of us expected, but a nice bow on top of a spectacular season, because the emotional performances of what have been driven this season so well for me personally. John Cena again delivered a very good performance in this episode, as he carries and kind of unloads all that emotional weight, and it's resolved in such a beautiful way. Again, Danielle Brooks was fantastic. Jennifer Holland continued to be really great too. And so overall, the finale, a very strong ending for me in terms of wrapping up a lot of those storylines, as well as giving us enough crumbs as to where we will go next in the DCU. And I'm really excited for the ride. What did you think of the Peacemaker Season 2 finale? Drop your comments down below, guys. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe for more content. Thanks for tuning in.